Hey guys, welcome to a firewood splitting tutorial here at Homesteading Off the Grid. I was just taking a break, reading some really wonderful short stories, October Nights by some guy named Kevin Lake, 31 Tales for the Halloween season. Kind of good looking guy, look at that. Anyway, fall is upon us, Halloween is in the air. We started burning for the year, firewood. We've already got enough firewood split, stacked, dried, seasoned actually for the next 2 years. But as you can see behind me, I've got a ton of very large logs that I need to split, stack, allow to season for the next couple of years because this is oak, and oak burns best after it's actually fully seasoned, which takes 2 to 3 years. You can burn it before that, but if you get your wood's moisture content down to 20% or lower, it burns so much better. So that's what we do. Now, I wanted to show you how I do it. Guys, I almost broke down and bought a gas-powered log splitter this year. I can afford to painlessly, but I'm not doing it because I actually enjoy doing it this way. So I want to make this video for those of you who maybe currently are not in a position to buy a gas-powered log splitter, or maybe you can't even get the financing for one. I've been there, okay? And so once upon a time, it's like Teddy Roosevelt said, you do the best you can with what you've got to work with. That's how I've always lived my life. And a few short years back, the most I had to work with was, I could buy a $35 sledgehammer and a $25 diamond Maul, and it worked. The following year, still wasn't quite ready to get comfortably a gas-powered log splitter. So I got a fancy little tool. Well, it's a simple tool, and it's an inexpensive tool. After shipping, it was $135. It's a Sunjo 2-ton manual log splitter. We're into our 3rd year with this thing, and it still works as good as new, and it still works very good. It's very effective. I'm going to show you 5 loads of maple and red oak I split last month at my leisure. I was taking breaks in between work. I work from home here in my office at home, and I'd work very intensely for an hour, come out and use this little 2-ton log splitter, saying, well, let's just do this. Next thing I knew, I had 5 loads of wood split and stacked. As a matter of fact, here it is. Let me show you that right now. Okay, so here's what we're looking at here. This is 5 pickup truck loads of firewood that I split and stacked using that Sunjo 2-ton manual log splitter this summer. We're going to learn a couple things here in this part of the tutorial. I think Yvette or Yvonne, one of our followers, asked me why I have firewood stacked in so many different places around my property. Okay, firewood dries by the veins. The moisture comes out of the veins. The moisture doesn't evaporate. I mean, to a degree, it does on the split side. But the majority of the moisture comes out of the veins of the wood. Now, where this wood is positioned, and by the way, guys, this was only about 4 hours of total work time. These rows are about 20 feet long. They're about 5 feet tall. And then I got some back here that was too big to fit in the log splitter. So at some point, I will come do this manually with the sledgehammer and the maul. There's not a lot of it. And then over here was a little bit more. So there's 4 rows. 2 big rows. One that still needs split, and then one that is split back here. But here's the deal. That's east. Okay, the sun rises in the east. So for the entire first half of the day, the sun is making direct contact with this end of the firewood. And then as it starts to set in the west, okay, in the second half of the day, the direct sunlight sucks the moisture out of this side of the wood. So you want to stack your wood to where it's facing east to west. And then also right here, there's not enough tree coverage to provide shade in this spot. Now, it was very comfortable for me to split the wood in this location because this maple tree and mulberry tree here did provide shade in this area. So this is where I worked, and this is where I put it. And again, this is maybe total time 4 hours. I would be working inside of my office, writing, editing. I go hard for about an hour, and then I need a break. It's very intense mental work. So I come out for 10 or 15 minutes and split wood. And the thing I love about splitting wood is you have to pay attention to what you're doing when you do it, or you're going to get hurt if you don't. And so It allows me to clear my mind and not be focusing so intensely on my work or, other things that maybe, we all have a tendency to worry about things that we shouldn't even really be worrying about at times. Splitting wood gets my mind off of that kind of nonsense. And then every now and then, since my mind is clear, an aha moment will come. I'll get an idea for the next story or the next scene in the current story, run back in the house and get back to work. Isn't that amazing? And is when I demonstrate how easy this thing is to use, you'll see it's not even taxing physically. A little bit, and it's actually one of the things I like about splitting and stacking firewood manually is you get a good workout. The Sunjo, you work your chest muscles, you got some shoulder work going in there, as you'll see. And then, of course, with the sledgehammer and the Maul, it's a lot of lats, and actually abs, too, and calf raises. If you're new to it and you start doing it, your calves will actually be sore from doing a calf raise every time you get ready to come down with a sledgehammer. Now, let me show you real quick all this huge wood that we're going to be splitting and stacking over the next couple of months. All right, guys, as you can tell, we have a mess of it. I'm going to show you just how big some of it is. This is white oak over here. Cut up our rounds yesterday. We'll talk about that here in a second. It's not about that this time. Look, I got a tape measure, and I got this locked at 42 inches because I just measured this. I can't measure and hold the phone at the same time. But look at that. 42 inches. Some of this stuff is absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. And yes, I will. See over there's some final product from the other day. I will be cutting, splitting, and stacking all of this without using a gas-powered log splitter. Isn't that amazing? Now, here's the deal. If you're in a situation where maybe you can't afford a gas-powered log splitter or times are tight. As of this recording, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and a lot of people who are usually pretty well off financially aren't so much anymore. Let me tell you where to get wood like this for free. I was out after a recent hurricane came through the area, and it looked more like a tornado touchdown and just ripped a big wide path of large mature timber down. I was going to people's houses who had trees down and saying, hey, I'll take that out of here for you, cut it up and take it away for free if you just let me keep it for firewood. And I actually found a guy advertising on Craigslist, calling people to his property. So I went there, started getting several truckloads of red oak, going down into the woods, cutting it up with my Pullin 18-inch chainsaw, which is not supposedly a very good saw. I'm doing all this work with a Pullin because when I got it a few years ago, that's all I could afford. I couldn't afford a $450 steel. I could now, and I almost went out and bought one, but then just yesterday I said to myself, go out there and just do the work you need to do with that chainsaw and see how difficult it really is. I did it, which I'm going to show you some here. In 15 minutes, I sawed up 2 of these giant logs. I've got them sawed into about 16 or 18-inch lengths, so it won't be any problem fitting into my wood stove. And the saw did just fine. I put a new blade on it, a new chain, and it cut through it like butter. It took me 15 minutes. It wasn't hard physically. So I said to myself, and I told my wife, I'm just not going to go spend $450 right now that I don't have to spend, because what I have is doing the job, okay? So with no further ado, let me show you. Now listen, I want to point out too about safety, and it's not hot out here, but it's a little warm. I'm going to take my flannel off here before I start swinging that sledgehammer and getting to work here. But and listen, from this point of the video on, I want you to pay very close attention to me, okay? Because safety, you can hurt yourself doing this if you're not safe about it. I'm going to show you the proper safety equipment, proper form. Don't get distracted, okay? Listen, you may or may not see wildlife in this video, okay? Up here in my meadow, or trying to slip up on us out of the forest out of curiosity. You might see a deer, You could see a turkey. We have a lot of hawks that fly through the area. We've had a lot of bears this year. We get foxes, and there's a big old red fox I've had come out and watch me split wood in the middle of the day before. He doesn't get too close. You could see anything. Don't get distracted by that, because I want you to pay attention to me for safety purposes so you learn how to do this safely, okay? And along those lines, speaking of safety, anytime you're outside doing anything active, physical activity, always make sure you have water. You don't want to be out here sweating doing this work and get dehydrated. You'll get cramps. A lot of times when you're working with firewood, you can inhale sawdust or wood chips and choke, or suck in one of these gnats and choke on a bug. So give me just a second here. Pay no attention to that stuff. Pay attention to me, okay? I'm first going to show you how well this Sun Joe 2-ton log splitter works, because a lot of you are saying, wow, 135 bucks? We bought it on Amazon. They have them anywhere, I think, Harbor Freight. They're not rare, but I'm going to demonstrate that first. Always wear iPro. I wear gloves when I work with wood. I don't want splinters. I've got writer's hands, okay? I just make sure to get disposable gloves so that once they start getting sweaty and nasty, I'll replace them. They're inexpensive, or sometimes I'll wash them in the sink with hot water and Dawn dishwashing detergent. But remember, we need to be concerned about germs, especially with the virus going around the pandemic. Want to be sanitary. But I don't use ear protection for this because this isn't loud. But watch this. Yeah, I'm going to use this one because it's closest. That's probably 16 inches wide. Now listen, one safety thing. Avoid any unnecessary lifting, and if you do lift, because this piece right here probably weighs 60 pounds because it's solid oak. Look at that. This is a big one. And you're probably thinking, how is that little 2-ton log splitter going to split that? It's huge. I'm telling you, it's one of the best investments I ever made. Watch. Now this has 2 gears. This is like a high gear on the left, and this is a low gear. I use them both until the mechanism here makes contact with the wood. So we're in contact here, and so at this point, it gets a little difficult. I'll still use both for as long as I can, but after that, the high gear, it's just not going to do the work, and that's where this low gear comes into play. Hear that splitting? Look at that. And that's not hard, guys. I mean, this is not hard, okay? Now, once the wood is split, I'll go back to using both gears. Okay, now that's as far as I can go, so I'll back it off. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, even this is heavy. This is probably 25 or 30 pounds. I bet you that whole piece weighed 70 or 80 pounds. So I'm going to split this one again. Again, using both gears for as long as I can to make it quicker. And this piece was so small that it was able to split while I use both gears at the same time. Look at that. I mean, guys, it's nothing to it. I'm not even breathing hard or sweating. That is a very amazing, inexpensive little tool right there. And I just showed you, even with some really big rounds, it does the job. It gets the job done. So I'll go back and finish that one up later after I make the video. Now we're going to be going with the sledgehammer and the Maul. I want to point something out. We have here on our homestead, our rule number one is hinay hinay. My wife's Filipina, and hinay hinay in her native tongue, Visayan, means slow and easy. In Tagalog it's dahan dahan. We don't view anything that we've got to get done out here as urgent enough to where we do it hastily, get in a hurry, get in a rush, and do it unsafely. And I'm pointing this out because I take my time with this. I use my brain more so than my back, though. There's a lot of back-breaking work involved here. I read the grain of the wood. I try to find out where maybe it's going to split easier. Look for that. I'm going to point out when I stick the Maul in this next big round, I don't stick it right in the center because this wood still has a very high moisture content, and it'll just spit that Maul right back out. You go off from the center of the core of the wood. And I'm saying all this because people will say anything, especially on the internet. They say, as slow as he works, he's never going to get all that wood split. That was a comment made, I think, 2 years ago when I was making some firewood videos because I had a lot of wood here. Well, guess what? I got it split. I'll tell you what I never do. Knock on wood. I never get hurt. I never get injured because I take my time. And if I get tired, I rest. I've got a chair sitting out here. I mean, I'll be out here most of the afternoon doing this because I simply enjoy doing it. But when I need to take a break, I'll just read some more of the October Nights, 31 Tales for the Halloween Season by some guy named Kevin Lake. I mean, he's not that good looking. He's got a face made for the radio, it looks like, but they're pretty good stories. And again, just always got to drink your water, okay? Because the longer you stay hydrated, the longer you can work safely. All right. Again, I want you to pay attention to these tips for purposes of safety, not what may or may not be in this area. Okay. Now, I intentionally cut this one so short to where it wouldn't fit in that log splitter. That thing will, I think up to 16 inches, you can fit them in there, but if it's longer than that, it won't fit. And if they're shorter than like maybe 12 inches, the mechanism won't make contact. You can't split it. So this one's about 12 inches wide, but this was intentional because sometimes I do it accidentally. And so when that happens and I can't use that tool there, I use the sledgehammer. What I was saying earlier, like a lot of people when they start this, they'll go, well, that's right there, the smack dab center of the wood. I'm going to put my diamond Maul there and split it right there in the middle. Stay. I used to do it. Well, there's so much moisture in this wood. You bang that Maul in there and it's just going to pop right back out. So what I'll do is I'll read the wood, like I said earlier. I see there's a natural split right here. I'll go there because it's already, that's where it's wanting to split, okay? Going to be using what's called a diamond Maul because it's shaped like a diamond. I love this thing. I think it was $25 at Lowe's, okay? And then I got a 10-pound sledgehammer we're going to be pounding it in with. Now listen, if you've got earbuds in or headphones, take them out right now. And before I swing this thing down on this Maul, you might want to lower your volume because this is very loud. And as such, we're talking about safety here. When you go this route, you need to wear earplugs, okay? They're very inexpensive. I buy them in like 50 packs for like $8 on Amazon. And it's a small price to pay to protect your hearing. I've already got hearing issues. I was a machine gunner in Iraq and I have tinnitus, so there's always this constant hum. And if somebody's talking to me and there's any sort of background noise, I can't hear them. Like if it's like music in a restaurant or something, I really have to focus. So I want to keep what hearing I have left. So you can't hear me because I have earplugs in. All right, so tell you something else I've started doing just this year too, because I'm trying to maximally conserve my energy so I can work longer. You know, as I get older, I rely more on knowledge than strength. Some people would call it wisdom, and in line with not getting hurt. You know, it's like Ernest Hemingway, one of my favorite writers. He said it in one of his novels. I think it was the novel To Have or Have Not. The main character was talking to like an 80-year-old man, and the 80-some-year-old man says, "The truth about old men is not that they become wise. The truth about old men is that they become careful." So as I've aged, I've become more careful. So with that said, you know, when I used to start banging away with my diamond maul, I'd have this in here and I'd have this 10-pound sledgehammer and I'd be banging it from the beginning. I use a little tiny handheld sledge to get this thing going. Then I start swinging with that. And what I found is that I'm able to work twice as long now doing this just because I'm working twice as smart or twice as careful, okay? I'll show you what I mean. This is my splitting block, because you see it has a fork here. This would not split easily. So I've converted this to my splitting block. Again, there is going to be some lifting. Make it minimal, okay? Notice I didn't pick that thing all the way up here and put it here. I had it rolling, then I used its momentum to put it up on here. So, iPro, remember? iPro, Ear Pro, gloves. Turn down your volume, it's going to get loud. See, this isn't hard at all. This isn't taking much effort. So it's in there. It's in there deep enough now to where I can start hitting it with the big one. And it's cracking. It's starting to split already. Maybe you can hear it. I don't know. I have earplugs in. Hear it? There we go. Look at that. What was that? 5 hits? So then, come around, take some more off. Again, this is a tutorial, so I normally would not remove this from the block, but I want to show you something. I want to show you where I'm going to be placing the maul for the next smashing, the next round of smashing. As this thing split, that time, these two split lines developed. See that? There and there. So guess where I'm putting my maul next time? Right there where there's already a split. You know, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't even take the time to notice that kind of stuff. You know, I was younger, I was stronger. So I would just be like, grab the maul, start slamming it in there with the sledgehammer. And well, that worked. That was all well and good a number of years ago, but it doesn't work for me anymore. And again, there's no such thing as drinking too much water when you're outside doing physical stuff. Now, since these other splits are already here, it doesn't really take much effort for me to get started with the big one. See that? That's because that split was already there. Okay, the diamond maul is all the way in the wood, and the top of the maul is flush with the wood. So when you get your sledgehammer, make sure the opposite end of the hammerhead looks like a wedge, because now I'll flip this over and use this side. There we go. See? Another piece. And now what I'll do, same thing. Already a crack here. So this isn't too hard to do it like this. Like that. Switch. There we go. Is it hard work? I mean, kinda. It's not like excruciatingly hard, and you just got to work yourself into shape to do it. The more you do it, the easier it'll become. But again, I want to emphasize safety. Don't do it so quickly, or don't get in a hurry, because it's really easy to get hurt. This stuff's heavy. Notice when I was pounding, I was keeping my back straight, and I didn't bend forward. It was a bug. Didn't bend forward to pick up my sledge like that. I kept my back straight, and I stepped into it to grab it. That's so I could keep my back straight. So those are just some things I've learned through the years of splitting and stacking my own firewood. You know, I want to give a shout out to Fant Tree Removal Services out of Madison, Virginia, because when I was out that day at that one guy's house I found on Craigslist cutting up wood, they were actually doing tree removal for a property next door to this guy. So I went over and just talked to the older gentleman, Thomas Fant, that owns the company. Told him what I was doing. I was out getting firewood, and that day it was in the 90s, and it was 90-some% humidity. It wasn't safe really to be out there doing what I was doing, but we save up to $5,000 a year in heating costs by burning with wood and by splitting it ourselves and not buying it. So he says, you know what? Go home, get in the air conditioning. He says, where do you live? I told him. He says, I'll bring you more firewood than you'll be able to burn for years. I'm like, really? He said, yeah, for free. He didn't even take gas money from me for bringing it out. And he was about 25 minutes away from my house. So I came home, and sure enough, at the end of the day, he brought me that first dump truck load of firewood for free. And again, wouldn't take gas money. And I was helping him. He explained to me that if he took it to the landfill, they'd charge him $75 a load. And so this was win-win. He said, you want some more? I said, sure, I'll take all you can bring me. He came back 2 weeks later with his grandson, Matthew, who's actually running the company now. Impressive young man. He's only 20 years old, and he's a very impressive young man. They brought me the second load over here of white oak, and they're coming by with the third load at some point. They said they're going to bring it to me until I tell them to stop. So after the third load, I'll probably have them stop for a while, because I need to get it split up. And plus, I don't want to be greedy. There's other people out there that could use wood, and I'm sure they're taking it to other people too. So if you're in central Virginia, Madison, Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Greene, Orange, Culpeper, and you need trees removed from your property, call Fant Tree Removal Services. They're great people. They're wonderful people. So I've prattled on for long enough here. I've rambled and I've rambled. So I'm going to close it down now. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. Be safe out there. Get outside and enjoy the fall weather, even if you don't have firewood to stack and split. Just go outside and play. It's good for you. See you for more next time from here at Homesteading Off the Grid.